Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an electrical mystery that honestly constantly surprises even seasoned solar installers and hardcore off-grid DIYers. Imagine this. You've just built a massive, robust battery system. You used heavy-duty 4/0 battery cables, the kind that are literally thick enough to tow a truck with. But when you finally power the whole thing up, you notice something completely alarming. That giant, super expensive cable is running dangerously hot. I mean, how is that even possible? Well, let's dive right in and solve the mystery of the melting battery cable. It really is the core question that stumps so many enthusiasts. You look at the wire, you check your ampacity charts, and according to all the basic rules, that cable should easily handle the load. Yet there it is, practically burning up. It is just so easy to assume that a massive 4-hour cable is some kind of magic shield against high temperatures. But as we're going to see, a cable's temperature depends on far, far more than just its physical size. If you go online, jump onto forums, or watch standard tutorials, the internet's knee-jerk reaction to a hot cable is almost always the same. Hey, your cable's too small, just buy a bigger one. And sure, while technically a larger wire carries more current, this completely oversimplified advice usually completely misses the root cause. The hidden reality here? A perfectly sized 440 cable can still severely overheat. Why? Because the true problem is usually an invisible connection issue. It's a microscopic failure point that a thicker cable absolutely, positively cannot fix. All right, so let's set the ground rules with Section 1, the physics of heat. To really understand what's happening here, we've got to look at one absolutely crucial formula. Power equals current squared times resistance, or P equals I squared R. When electrical current flows through literally any material, it encounters resistance. And whenever current hits that resistance, heat, or power dissipated, is produced. So resistance is our true enemy here, not just the size of the cable. Any tiny point of resistance acts exactly like a hidden space heater, generating thermal energy right inside your system. But you want to know what the real danger is in that equation? It's that the current, the I, is squared. This is a massive deal, folks. Because current is squared, heating rises incredibly rapidly as current increases. Think about it. If you simply double the electrical current flowing through your system, you don't just get double the heat. You get 4 times the amount of heat. Even tiny increases in current are going to create exponential temperature spikes. So, how exactly does this play out in your specific solar or off-grid application? Well, because power equals voltage times current, low-voltage systems, like your typical 12-volt or 24-volt battery bank, are forced to push enormous amounts of current just to get the high wattage that a large inverter demands. Remember that 4 times multiplier we just talked about? Because these systems demand such massive amps, even the tiniest little bit of resistance is going to be multiplied exponentially into dangerous, dangerous heat. Which brings us nicely to Section 2, the real suspects. Let's interrogate those connections. If the cable itself isn't the problem, where exactly is all this resistance hiding? Let's walk through our lineup of usual suspects. First up, lugs. A lug might look perfectly installed from the outside, but a bad crimp leaves microscopic air gaps inside. And those air gaps? They equal resistance. Next, we have terminals. If you're tightening hardware just by feel rather than using a proper torque wrench, you're going to get low contact pressure, and that creates more resistance. Finally, bus bars and breakers. These can suffer from completely unseen corrosion and dirt. So literally, a massive, perfectly sized cable can be entirely sabotaged by just one of these flawed connection points. And look, if we just ignore these hidden suspects, the ripple effects are pretty terrifying. That resistance-induced heat can melt right through your cable's insulation, creating severe fire hazards. Nobody wants that. But honestly, even before a fire starts, it causes deeply frustrating system issues. The voltage drop from this resistance forces your inverter to work way harder, triggering those annoying, unexpected low battery fault codes we all hate. Plus, it heavily stresses your expensive battery bank by forcing it to output higher currents just to compensate. Let's move on to Section 3, time and environment, the accomplices. A slightly bad connection usually relies on a massive accomplice, time. You see, a lot of people test their system by turning on a heavy load, like a microwave, for just a couple of minutes. The cable stays cool and they think, awesome, I'm safe. But a system surviving a short surge tells you almost nothing about its true safety. Under a continuous heavy load for hours, like say running an AC unit, the thermal equilibrium completely changes. A connection that felt maybe just a little bit warm at minute 5, well, it could literally be melting plastic by hour 3. And then we have Environmental heat traps. Standard Ampacity charts almost always assume your cables are resting in perfect, ideal open-air conditions. But in the real world, come on, we tightly bundle our cables together with zip ties to make them look neat. Or we install our equipment in hot, unventilated closets. Tightly grouping cables like that strips away a conductor's natural ability to cool itself down. And if the ambient room temperature is already high, well, your cable is starting its day far closer to its thermal limit. So how do we actually find this stuff? Let's check out Section 4, Thermal Camera Diagnostics, our forensic toolkit. To finally crack this case, we have to remember one absolutely vital rule. Thermal cameras reveal symptoms, not causes. It is so common for someone to point a thermal camera at a cable, see a bright glowing hotspot, and immediately declare, "Aha, the cable is undersized." Actually, scratch that. It's a massive misinterpretation. Seeing a hotspot just tells you exactly where to look. It does not automatically tell you what is failing.
So, to use this tool effectively, we need a really actionable 4-step inspection procedure. Step 1, you must apply a substantial continuous load to the system. Testing a lightly loaded system is just going to hide the flaws. Step 2, measure the actual current flowing with a DC clamp meter, just so you have some real context. Step 3, grab that thermal camera and scan the entire assembly: the cable, the lugs, the fuse holder, the breaker, the whole shebang. And finally, step 4, meticulously compare the temperatures across all of those different components. Now here is how you actually read that thermal crime scene. If the entire length of the cable is uniformly glowing warm on your camera, with no single spot standing out, then yes, okay, you likely have an ampacity issue where the wire itself is the bottleneck. But if you see a concentrated glaring hotspot specifically at a lug, a terminal, or a breaker while the rest of the cable is relatively cool, boom, you found your culprit. That is almost always a localized connection failure. Which brings us to our final and most important takeaway today. The goal of this explainer, and honestly of your own system diagnostics, isn't simply to find heat and then completely panic. The goal is to deeply understand why that heat exists in the first place. By understanding that resistance exponentially multiplies heat, and by tracing that resistance back to a hidden connection failure rather than just blaming wire size, you can fix the actual root cause. So the next time you feel a suspiciously warm cable, ask yourself, is the wire really the problem, or is there a tiny invisible killer hiding right at the very end of it?